Hi there. My name is Terzi Engelhardt, and I welcome you to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Choice. So I do this every week. Every week I say, some of you are brand new. Some of you have been here for a while. Some of you have been here since the very beginning, and all of you are welcome. Wherever you are on your journey, I appreciate you sharing yourselves, your journey, your healing process with me. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to pull out some of the wisdom that I've gleaned over my 38 years of recovery after living from 16 years old to 36 years old as an addict, really healing from sexual abuse and then living with an eating disorder. And then these 38 years sort of over time, reclaiming those shattered or broken off pieces of myself and putting them back together, and finally living a life that I believe I was designed and created to live. And so grateful for that opportunity. You may have heard me say this before. I actually think that people who struggle with addiction are extraordinary people. And they're just avoiding taking responsibility for their gifts, for their talents, for the opportunity to contribute. And so we create these kind of alternate existences, usually destructive and all consuming. And it gets us off the hook of, being responsible for who we are. So, welcome wherever you are. I don't have your answers. I say that every week. You do. But I know because I listened to other people's stories when they shared with me, and I would glean tidbits that would help me along my journey, my path. And it's my hope that the same thing will be true for you, which is why I share my story. So I hope that you take what resonates, leave the rest, and that there's something that you hear each week that gives you a little bit more encouragement or inspiration, or maybe a piece to the puzzle of your life, so that you can actually become more fully who you were designed to be, which is my hope for all of us. Also, every week I tell you that on Tuesdays you can sign up for a session where honestly I sit as an elder, and what I do is reflect back to you who I see and what I hear. And my experience is that always the reflection is greater than you see yourself, because I think we all tend to be a little self-critical. And sometimes when someone reflects who they see, it gives us a vision to be able to live into. Those are donation, so don't let yourself get stopped. And if that works for you, love to see you there. I feel connected and grateful for all the people I've gotten to sit with. Okay, so this episode is actually a continuation of last week. So last week I shared with you something that had come up right before I began to record the episode. And what I shared with you was how we have to admit defeat before we can move on. And it's like in AA, people saying, I'm an alcoholic. And they recognize that all their efforts, whatever their efforts were, they weren't enough to get themselves sober and along the journey of recovery. And there's so many ways and places that we're defeated. But if you're anything like me, you just kind of dig in and think, I'll get it this time, I'll get it this time I'll get it right. And we had reached a place in really kind of a simple thing, which was fulfilling these orders. And I had to admit, like, I get it. I don't know why. It's a simple thing. I don't know why every week there's some glitch in it. Anyway, we had to admit that we were defeated. We took back the delivering of all the orders until we could actually get a system and we could get it and have it be right over and over and over again. Fulfill the orders, get people what they had ordered, what they had paid for, what they wanted. And then, we can go back to maybe sharing the delivery process. All right. Well, so last week actually on the episode, I admitted I'm defeated. I get it. And so this week in that space, we met with the two people that actually share in the delivery and run the veggies. And she talked about their system and how they do it. And I was just clear, like, that's not going to work for me either. And I'm not a technology person. I do the best I can. I'm pretty good at like digging in and learning. And I just took on like, okay, so I can take this CSV file that I get from my website after people have ordered. And then I got to learn how I can do something with this where I can get totals for the pick list of the products I need to do. Now, for those of you who are technologically savvy, this probably sounds like the ABCs. But anyway, so I learned Numbers, which is the accounting, the spreadsheet system that's on my computer. And it's the one that shows up when my CSV file is downloaded. It's a spreadsheet from Numbers. So I just took on learning Numbers. And I have to admit, today was the first day that we delivered, and it was 100%. It was amazing. It definitely took me more time. But I was also much more aware of what the orders were and what I needed to pack and all that. And I did have a headache, and so did my husband, because we had to think in new ways that we haven't thought before. And it reminded me of the early days in recovery where I had to think in new ways. And it was exhausting because I had these habits in these habitual ways. And I had to kind of catch myself and stop and then create some new tracks for thinking in a different and healthier way. So, wherever it might be in your life that you've admitted defeat over this last week, and honestly, I believe if we all look deep enough, we all have places where it would be really healthy if we would just admit we're defeated and be humbled by that. And that's what I want to share with you this week is being humbled. It's an interesting process, right? Because so many people have fought for their worth or their value. And certainly if you've come through the avenues of addiction and you've lived with the shame and the guilt, humility or being humbled can feel like it's more of the same, some version of I'm lower, woe is me, I'm less than. But that's not the humility that I'm talking about. That's not the being humbled. I am humble. Humble is I can admit that there's still room for me to learn. I can learn from other people. I can grow. I can admit my mistakes or my shortcomings or my failings and not make them, I am a failure. No, I'm humbled. I am humbled is very different than I am a failure. So it's not shame and it's not guilt. It's actually a position of reverence. And in that place of humility and humbleness, I was able to kind of rise up and learn something new, which I didn't really have any interest in before. And I got interested in it. And I spent days at it and learned how to do some formulas and learned how to copy that spreadsheet. And your situation may have nothing to do with orders or spreadsheets or numbers. It's not about the circumstances. It's about what's going on inside of us. And can we admit defeat and then be humbled by who we are and express our humility, live in that place for a while, and then see what rises from there. Because my experience is out of a position of humility, out of being humble, there's an opening. and there's an opening for something new, and there's graciousness there. So this week, what I want you to do is, in that area where you've admitted defeat, see if you can't get yourself in a posture or position of humility. Maybe even write out, I am humble. I am humbled. And take that on. And again, a reminder, that's not shame and guilt. That's not belittling you. It's actually a reverence. It's a reverence for who you are and how there's something so much greater awaiting you. Okay? So take that on this week, and I'll be here next week, and I'll look forward to seeing you then.